Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you've all had a good summer. I'm Deanna Wolf, and I'm the Senior Consultant for Trust Fundraising here at Moneytree Fundraising. Trust Q&A Live is here on Trust Fundraising Hub on the third Thursday of most months at 12:15 on Facebook and on Twitter and our Moneytree Fundraising page on LinkedIn. And I'm here right now to answer any questions you may have on Trust Fundraising. It's been a little bit of a weird month, I know. So please do let me know if there's any questions. Otherwise, I've got some things that I can talk to you about today. Let's see. Right. Okay. So salaries. I've had a lot of questions on Trust Fundraising Hub and generally to me in my own practice here at Trust Fundraising, at Moneytree Fundraising and generally. A lot of organizations want you to find, as a trust fundraiser, want you to find a salary for them to pay for things. They don't want you to find anything else. What they want is the salary so they can cover the post. Trusts, on the other hand, don't want to fund salaries in the sense that they're not there to fund you as an organization. They're there to fund the work that you do. So when you're doing a trust fundraising application and you're looking for a salary, phrase it in the point of view of how funders would want to see it. What is that person going to be doing? Why do they need to have somebody new in? That's what they're looking for. The cost of that work is the salary. But really what's happening is that you need to have the work done. Otherwise, what you're looking for is someone to just be paid. And that needs to come out of unrestricted funding that you get generally. And often unrestricted funding comes most easily from the other income streams, sometimes major donors, often community and individual giving, where they're giving small amounts on a regular basis. Just checking to make sure that we're live. There we are. We are also going to, when your best bet is to pull together what is that job and pull what the job description is and find the information about what's going on. Why are they in post? Why are they needed in post? Is somebody else not doing the work? Do you need extra bodies? Do you have more people coming to your organization and getting benefit and getting services from you? So qualify that, and that's what you need to talk about in an application form. Once you've done that, then you'll be able to get going better. So, and it's a hard, and you need to know about it. You need the same way you've got everything else. It takes about 6 months for that money to come in, and keep in mind how you're going to keep funding it going forward. If it's specific project-based money or project-based work and the project has an end date, the funding for that post will have an end date. The funding for the post will have an end date anyways, but it's definitely worth having a look at how you're going to be doing this and why you want to continue it. It may be that post then gets subsumed by your organization and gets subsumed by your organization's budgets, and that post becomes a permanent post within your funding. Sorry, within your budgets. The next one is where to search for funding. Those are the kinds of questions that come up all the time. You need a fund for a specific activity going on in a specific place. That's what Trust Research is for. And if you can get access to a database, that's possibly going to be one of the best places you can do a research database for trusts. There are some free ones out there. In so much as you can go to libraries, you can access them. You can use Google, you can use the Charity Commission site or Web Wales, or Charity Commission for England and Wales, or OSCAR, which is the Office of the Scottish Charity Regulator, or the Office of the Charity Commission for Northern Ireland. All three of those have a search function on them and an advanced search function. So you can look at where your organization is, where you're delivering services, the kinds of services you're delivering, and the types of people that you're delivering to them, whether they're children, adults, people of a specific group or ethnic group or organization or type of disability or something like that. And then it's a matter of searching. You can also look at other people that are doing similar work to you and see if they've posted who they get funding from and that you can find from a Google search, or if they post it online, then you can go in and take a look at that and see if any of those ones fit. Don't just apply to an organization because they've funded someone who does similar work to you, but that other organization is in the other half of the country. Because if it's in the other half of the country, chances are they're funding over there, not necessarily where you are. So make sure that you fit their giving guidelines. Get in touch with them if you can. If all you have is a name, go back to the Charity Commissioner or Oscar or Charity Commission for Northern Ireland and have a good look and see if you can find out what they fund using their accounts, and you can do a search on that. Oscar doesn't always link the accounts to the record. They've only started doing that recently. So sometimes what you have to do is go back into the company records and Companies House, and charity and the applications are listed, or the accounts are listed on Charities House. Sorry, it's been one of those mornings. The accounts are listed on Companies House for those organizations if they are also registered as a company. Funding from that is funding to get things for specific ideas. If you're looking for specific equipment, always bring your application and your approach back to what is the benefit that this will bring. So if you need a car or you need a vehicle or a van, it's not that you need a van. The van is the tool that will help you deliver a service. Thanks, Bridget. Yeah, it has been one of those weeks. So I think if you can bring it back to that service and bring it back to the impact it's going to have on the people that you're supporting or the cause that you're supporting, if you're doing environmental or animals or other areas, history, then what you want to do is make sure that it's not about you as an organization, because you as an organization are the facilitators. You're the deliverers of the material, of the service. You're not the service itself. And you're not the reason for the service. The need for the service are the people that you're helping, the cause that you're helping. So bring it back to the cause. We're the facilitators. We are the go-betweens and the interpreters. We're a voice for organizations or for people who collectively don't yet have a voice, or maybe do, but don't have the resources to bring that to fruition and get the services they need. We can do that as trust fundraisers and as charities. So leave us out. You don't need a salary for a person. You need to deliver workshops. You need to deliver workshops or deliver services or have appointments and have people getting healthcare appointments. The person delivering that service is the way that you make sure that happens. And so the salary can be applied for from that point of view, rather than just, hi, we need money to pay for somebody. Trusts don't want to do that. They don't want you to be reliant on them for their salary or for your salaries, because if they can't pay, that person's out of work. And as much as it might make you feel bad, it makes them feel bad as well, I'm sure, because they are people. Some of the things that are going on right now is everyone's asking, who can fund cost of living? Who can fund things to cover our electric bills? The cost for us, and us, I say charity sector, or charity as though I'm in the charity, I'm now a consultant, but I had worked for charities for a long time. The cost that we have impacts on the ability to deliver our work. So if your costs are rising and you're not getting more money in, that's impacting on the ability for you to do your work. If your electricity bills are going up, it's impacting on the ability to do the work. Maybe it's impacting on your ability to deliver at all, because your services are being delivered in your facility. And if you aren't able to deliver them there, then you're not going to be able to deliver at all, because the lights can't go on, the heating can't go on, it's unsafe to be in. Always bring it back to that. And it's core funding. The very good thing about the pandemic, if anything's come out of it that's good, is that a lot more trusts are understanding and foundations are understanding very much that if we're not available because our core costs aren't covered, then that service and those resources aren't being delivered to the people that we help and the causes that we help. So go through and take a look at, if the electricity is going off, what's that going to mean? and not necessarily what it means to the colleagues that they're uncomfortable. It may be that they can't come into work. If they can't come into work, they can't deliver the work. If they can't deliver the work is not being, the impact is being felt by the people that you help. Yes, somebody's just said they do full cost recovery in their program budgets and salaries are included when they submit budgets in our funding applications. Are you suggesting we remove salaries from those? No, not at all. If you do full cost recovery and you're getting funding, then the people that you're approaching can see how you're building it. It's when you go and apply for put in an application for a single salary, and you base it on, I want the salary. Don't look at it as I want the salary. Look at it as I want to deliver the services, and we want to deliver the services. The services need somebody in a salary who's getting a salary to deliver them. And so it's a cost, it's one of your costs. If you're doing full cost recovery already in your program budgets, then that's exactly what you need to do. And they can see how that works out. So please don't remove your salaries from your full cost recovery. Please don't look at it that way. I'm talking to the people who are applying for, they're putting in money just for the salary, and they don't explain, and they don't look at it from that fullness of the impact of the person who's getting that salary. I hope that answers your question. So especially right now with the cost of living, you want to make sure that that's there. Please do say we need to have a salary for this person to deliver the work. But it's about delivering the work. It's not about the salary. So change your focus so that it's about the work you're doing rather than the costs you have. Because convince the funders that the work you're doing is spectacular and wonderful and absolutely necessary. So have all the evidence, have all the importance and the impact statements, and know your objectives and know how you're meeting those. And then from that point of view, you're going to be able to say, and in order for us to do this, we just need the money. The money is what's going to allow us to do that. But isn't this wonderful in how we're doing it? And that's kind of where you want to come in. And yes, I talk with my hands a lot. So I apologize if that bothers anyone. There have been a couple of costs, going to the next thing that I've seen on Trust Fundraising Hub lately, is there's been a couple of questions about reserves. I know in at least one other Trust Fundraising Hub Q&A live, we had a conversation with one of our guests about reserves and how they work. Things are changing. As you're going through, any of the money that you have in your organization that isn't already restricted by funders, where they've said that in order for you to get this money, you have to do X with it. If you don't do X with it, we want the money back. That's restricted. You can't determine that money. You can't, other than giving it back, you can't use that for any other purpose. If you have unrestricted funds, and that's often what they're looking for when they're looking at reserves. It's not the restricted reserves. They may ask for total, and then they may ask if they don't ask for a breakdown in your application at some point, see if you can put down the breakdown of restricted, unrestricted. And then within unrestricted reserves, you'll have designated, and please note, I'm not an accountant. Within unrestricted, the simple answers, you'll have designated funds, which are funds that your organization is earmarked for a specific project, such as you're raising money for a capital project. And so it looks like you have 100,000, hundreds of thousands of pounds more than you expected in your accounts. However, what that might be is that that's unrestricted money that you have received, and you are designating it for a particular capital project, so you know that it's there. It may be that you've received a legacy that you haven't yet decided is going to be earmarked for something big. You don't yet know what it is, so your finance team can designate it. If you've got a dissolution fund, so that you are keeping aside a certain amount of money to make sure that if you have to close down, in worst case scenario, you have enough money to cover all the costs of redundancies, of legal costs, of getting rid of properties if you have to, of finishing up programs. If you look after beneficiaries in a care situation, you may have to spend more time finding them a new home and a new place to live. all of those costs you might want to designate as being very specifically for dissolution, especially if you have not very much money and your dissolution fund ends up taking up most of your free reserves. And at the same time, that's also your general fund. So you've got a little bit more on top of that. You want to make sure that the money that you have to spend every day, which goes into your reserves and your free reserves, is realistic to how much money you actually have. And so that the reserves picture and on the balance sheet gives a very clear statement of exactly how much money you actually have to play with, as opposed to money that is not really available and you only are going to touch it if you're closing down. I hope that answers your question. I know there's quite a lot of talk about it at the moment, and I've got, oh, thanks, Bridget. I know that I've got some resources on reserves that I've found and know some research that's being done on it, and I will post that on the Trust Fundraising Hub later on today, to show where we found the information and where some of the resources are. So that might give you a hand. Charity Commission also often has some really good information on it when they go into the information that they provide for trustees and their guidebooks for trustees. Oscar has some guidebooks for trustees. Sometimes it links back to other organizations, but it's there as well. Yeah, so it was how to help you organize. It's basically helping your organization, making sure that your organization stays fit and healthy, especially in these times right now. There's cost of living crisis. The politics are changing. Lots of things are changing in the economy. Trusts and foundations are changing all the time and changing their guidelines, especially after the pandemic, as they're figuring out what they want to do now. With all of those things going on, focus really clearly on what you want to do and where you need to fit. It's not about your organization, it's about the services and that the need that you are meeting. And that's what's really important. So talk about how much the cost of living crisis is impacting your beneficiaries, and that it's affecting everyone, and including you. And in order for you to continue giving the high quality services that you do, you need to get more money in, and that you're in a real crisis point. And talk about what will happen if you disappear. If your organization isn't there to deliver the services, what's going to happen to the beneficiaries? What's going to happen to the services that are already going on? What's going to happen in the community as a result of this? And that it's about following that impact through. A long time ago, I took a course by a service up here in Scotland called, I'm based in Scotland, a service up here in Scotland called Evaluation Support Scotland. And they had done a course on objectives and outcomes and impacts and outputs. And one of the most useful tools, in addition to figuring out what all that was their term, so what? It's a valuation comment that you can keep, and question you can keep asking yourself. If we don't work, they're not going to get helped. So what? So what's going to happen? Well, they're going to, the people that we help are going to be worse off. So what? Their electricity is going to go off. So what? They are very ill, and if their electricity goes off, the machines and services that they have in the house to keep them alive will be turned off, and they will die. And that's, I know I'm being very simplistic here, but that's kind of how you want to take it. Do the so what test. Keep going, so what? If you don't have a justifiable answer at any point, find one. See if you can find a justifiable answer why it's important that your service, your programs are funded, because that's really what's important. And if you can get that, and then get some evidence about how you're working in any of the applications that you're doing, that's the kind of thing that you want to be following up on. Make sure that people understand what the impact really is going to be. And then go and look and speak with your funders, the funders that you already have. They may understand, and they may know what they want to do to help you. If they don't know exactly, go to them and say exactly what you need help with. It may be additional funding. It may be that they give you additional resources in a different way, or they hook you up with a different plan, or a different service that can give you more assistance. Take a look at the resources and services in your areas and see if any of them are offering support. Take a look online and see what the government's offering support, and there are some programs that are working. Some of the issues around electricity and gas provision, Ofgem's actually got a resource that's available for that you can apply to. Some of the services that are becoming the most expensive have some funds available to help mitigate problems when you're dealing with very vulnerable people. And sometimes when you're dealing with not so vulnerable people, but people who are in a bit of a squash about things. So it's worth getting all that information in place and figuring out how you want to do it. Take a deep breath before. It is a panic. I know everyone will see it. It's a panic. But if you can take a look and talk to the funders that you know, take a look at the funders that you could go to, match yourself really, really carefully, and be quite strategic in this. Don't send off applications to funders that you don't have a chance at, because they really don't match what you do, but everyone's applying to them because they're going to be overloaded, and you've just wasted time that you could have spent finding a new funder, or completing an application to the funder that you know you can get good funding from. And if that's what you're looking for, be methodical, be strategic, take a deep breath, get all your evidence in place, know exactly what you need to do, and talk internally to your own management, senior management, and find out exactly what is needed. Go for need over want. At this time, sometimes want isn't appropriate, sometimes sometimes it is. It depends on the situation of the programs you're working on. And keep in mind that we've just come out of 2 years. If you're in a sector that is working on things like arts or culture, or some of the things that aren't necessary to keeping us alive and basic principles of survival, some of the things that we're working on and that you're working on are going to make us have a better quality of life. And so arts and culture and things like that, that's the kind of thing that you're looking for. And you want to make sure that you justify that. We've just come out of 2 years of lockdown. So people are starting to live again. Let's make sure that we have a good quality of life to live for. And that's kind of the arguments that you want to go for, rather than we need a salary, or, oh my God, our electricity bills are going to be too high. Yes, those are all true. But you want to look at it from the point of view of what's the longer term impact? What's the impact wider than just your organization, just your department? And if you can get those in place, then it will work really quite well. I'm not getting any other questions today. So rather than hearing myself speak for the next 5 minutes about the same things, I wish you well. I hope that everyone is doing well, and that their organizations, if you have a royal patron, that you are taking care of the situation and you've got good advice on how to deal with that. And I hope that if you are closing on Monday for the funeral, that you have a good day off and you rest and you take stock of things and you be with your family if you can, or do the things that you want to do. And thanks for tuning in. We'll be here next on October 20th at 12:15. And that will be our next Trust Live Q&A. Please do send questions to us on Facebook for it, and we'll get your questions answered. In the meantime, best wishes for your fundraising. Goodbye.